The birth of coffee. Introduction to coffee. Coffee is more than just a drink, it's a global passion that wakes us up, keeps us going, and brings us together. Imagine the world every morning, from the bustling cities of America to the quiet villages of Ethiopia, millions of people start their day with a cup of coffee. It's a ritual, a comforting routine that marks the beginning of new possibilities. The story of coffee is as rich and inviting as its taste. This beloved beverage comes from coffee beans, which are the seeds of a fruit grown on the coffee plant. It's fascinating to think that these beans travel a long journey from farms in tropical countries to coffee cups all over the world. Coffee has become an icon of modern life. Whether it's a quick espresso shot in Italy, a foamy cappuccino in a Parisian cafe, or a spicy cup of Turkish coffee, each cup has a story to tell. Coffee isn't just about the caffeine that gives us energy. It's about the experience, the flavors, and the moments of peace or conversation it brings. In this story, we will explore how coffee became the world's favorite beverage. We'll trace its origins, understand how it's made, and discover its deep cultural significance. So, grab a cup of coffee, and let's embark on this journey together. Origins and history. Our coffee journey begins in the lush highlands of Ethiopia, where coffee trees grow wild. Legend has it that a young shepherd named Kaldi noticed his goats becoming lively after eating red berries from a certain bush. Curious, Kaldi tried the berries himself and felt a rush of energy. This magical bush was, in fact, a wild coffee tree. Word of these energizing berries spread to the nearby monastery. Monks found that by consuming this fruit, they could stay awake during long hours of prayer. They began drying and boiling the berries, creating the first simple version of the coffee drink. Coffee's popularity grew, and by the 15th century, it reached the Arabian Peninsula, home to the port city of Mocha, which became a pivotal coffee trading center. Here, coffee was not just consumed for its stimulating effects, but began to be appreciated for its taste and aroma. In these lands, people started to cultivate coffee plants in gardens. They discovered that roasting the beans improved the flavor of the drink. Coffee houses, called kave khana, sprang up in cities across the Middle East. These places became hubs for socializing, where people discussed news, politics, and literature over cups of coffee. The news of this delightful and invigorating drink traveled along trade routes to Europe. At first, coffee met with skepticism and suspicion. Some even called it the bitter invention of Satan. However, with a papal blessing from Pope Clement VIII, who found it delicious, coffee quickly became accepted. By the 17th century, coffee houses had arrived in Europe, becoming known as penny universities because for the price of a cup of coffee, one could engage in stimulating conversations. In England, these coffee houses played a significant role in the social and cultural life, with the first one opening in Oxford. As European settlers traveled to the New World, they brought coffee with them. It wasn't long before coffee became a morning staple in the Americas too. In the 18th century, when tea became scarce because of the American Revolution, coffee secured its place as the preferred American beverage. In the 19th century, coffee production expanded dramatically. Countries like Brazil began large-scale cultivation, and coffee became a major export commodity. Innovations such as instant coffee and espresso machines made coffee even more accessible and varied. Today, coffee is a sign of hospitality in many cultures, offered to guests as a warm welcome. It's a drink that has sparked creativity and conversation for centuries and continues to be a source of comfort and community around the globe. In our next section, we'll learn about the fascinating process of how coffee is grown, harvested, and prepared before it reaches our cups. As we will see, the simplicity of a single cup of coffee is the result of a complex and beautiful journey. Coffee plantation and harvesting. Coffee begins its journey on farms in warm, tropical places all over the world, near the equator. Countries like Brazil, Vietnam, Colombia, and Ethiopia are famous for their coffee plantations. The coffee plant needs specific conditions to flourish, including rich soil, plenty of rain, and shaded sun. There are two main types of coffee that most of us drink, Arabica and Robusta. Arabica coffee is sweet and a bit acidic, often with a delightful aroma. It's typically grown on high mountains and requires careful attention. Robusta, on the other hand, is stronger and more bitter. It's usually grown in the lowland areas and is more resistant to pests and harsh weather. A coffee plantation is a beautiful sight, with rows of green bushes dotted with bright red coffee cherries. These coffee cherries are the fruit of the coffee plant, and inside each cherry are 2 coffee beans. It takes about 3 to 4 years for a coffee plant to grow its first fruit, but it can continue to produce beans for many years. Harvesting coffee is a task that requires patience and care. In most coffee-growing regions, it is done by hand. Farmers pick only the ripe cherries and leave the rest to ripen. This is important because overripe or unripe cherries can ruin the quality of the coffee. After picking, the cherries are processed to remove the beans. There are 2 main methods, the dry method and the wet method. In the dry method, the whole cherries are spread out in the sun to dry. Once dry, the outer layers are removed, leaving the beans behind. In the wet method, the cherries are put into water. The ripe cherries sink and are separated from the unripe ones which float. The outer layers are then washed away, and the beans are left to dry. Once the beans are dried, they are called green coffee. They are still not ready for brewing. These green beans are packed in large sacks and shipped to countries around the world to be roasted. The life of a coffee bean is quite remarkable. From the moment it is planted, to the careful nurturing and harvesting, to the journey across oceans, every step in the process adds to the flavor of the coffee. Farmers and workers put in a lot of effort to make sure the beans are of the highest quality. This is why when we take a sip of coffee, we're not just tasting a drink, we're experiencing a craft that has been perfected over centuries. In the next part of our story, we will follow the coffee beans to the next stage of their adventure, where they are transformed through roasting into the fragrant beans that we grind and brew to make the coffee we all love. From bean to cup. After coffee beans are harvested and dried, they begin their transformation that will turn them into the beverage we enjoy. This part of their journey is full of changes and new flavors. The first step is roasting. Roasting is cooking the coffee beans to bring out their best flavors. The green beans are heated in a large drum. As they heat up, they change from green to yellow and then to various shades of brown. The beans also start to crackle and pop. This is known as the first crack, a sign that roasting has begun. Depending on how long they roast, the beans might reach a second crack, which means they are even darker and more intense in flavor. Different roasting times create different tastes. Light roasts are mild and slightly acidic. Medium roasts are sweeter and have more balanced flavors. Dark roasts are bold and strong. The choice of roast affects the final cup of coffee. Roasting is an art, and roasters are like artists who bring out the personality of each bean. After roasting, the beans must cool down. They release a lot of aroma during this time, and if you were nearby, you would smell the rich scents of coffee. Once cool, the beans are ready to be packaged and sent to stores, coffee shops, or directly to people's homes. Now, the coffee beans need to be ground. Grinding coffee is breaking the roasted beans into small pieces. This is important because it helps to release the flavors. There are different grinds for different brewing methods. Espresso needs a fine grind, like powder. French press coffee needs a coarse grind, with bigger pieces. The grind must match the brewing method to make sure the coffee tastes good. Brewing is when hot water meets the ground coffee. This is where the magic happens, and the coffee we drink is made. The hot water pulls the flavors and oils out of the coffee grounds, creating the liquid coffee. There are many ways to brew coffee. Some people use a machine, like a coffee maker or an espresso machine. Others use a kettle and a pour-over cone. Some even use a simple pot to boil coffee the traditional way. Each brewing method has its own special taste. Espresso is strong and concentrated, often with a layer of foam on top called crema. Pour-over coffee is clean and flavorful, allowing the drinker to taste all the subtle notes in the coffee. No matter how it's made, the goal is the same: to create a delicious cup of coffee that brings enjoyment and energy. As we finish our coffee, we should remember all the work that went into making it. From the farmers who picked the cherries, to the roasters who crafted the flavors, to the baristas who brewed it with care, every cup of coffee is a result of many hands and hearts. In our next section, we will explore how coffee touches lives and cultures around the world. Cultural significance. Coffee isn't just a beverage, it's a symbol of hospitality, a centerpiece for community, and a companion for creativity. It's woven into the fabric of societies worldwide, each with its own unique coffee culture. In Italy, coffee is an art and an essential part of the daily routine. Italians often enjoy a quick, strong espresso at the bar, standing up, chatting with the barista or a friend. The espresso is usually consumed in 1 or 2 sips, full of flavor and providing a quick burst of energy. In Italy, coffee breaks are not just breaks, they are cherished moments of relaxation and socialization. Moving to the Middle East, coffee has a ceremonial role, particularly in countries like Turkey. Turkish coffee is prepared in a sezv, a special small pot where water and finely ground coffee with sugar are brought to a boil. It's served in small cups and often accompanied by something sweet. The preparation of Turkish coffee is considered an act of hospitality and respect, and it is often followed by the tradition of reading one's fortune from the coffee grounds left in the cup. In Ethiopia, the birthplace of coffee, the coffee ceremony is an integral part of social life. Green coffee beans are roasted over an open fire, ground by hand, and then brewed in a clay pot known as a jabina. The coffee is then served in small cups, often with popcorn or peanuts. The ceremony can take hours and is a time for sharing news, storytelling, and enjoying the company of others. In the United States, coffee shops are modern-day social hubs, filled with a mix of people working on laptops, meeting friends, or just enjoying a moment of solitude with a cup of coffee. The rise of specialty coffee shops has introduced consumers to a world of different brewing techniques and flavors, turning coffee drinking into a sophisticated experience for many. In Vietnam, coffee is often enjoyed iced with sweetened condensed milk, a testament to the country's creativity with coffee and a nod to its hot climate. The strong, sweet coffee is a refreshing treat that can be found at bustling street-side cafes, where life slows down just enough to enjoy the moment. Across the globe, coffee plays a role in cultural rituals, business meetings, and simple daily pleasures. It's a drink that can be enjoyed alone for a moment of peace or shared with others for a connection. Coffee culture is as diverse as the people who cherish the drink. Coffee's impact extends beyond the cup. It has inspired countless works of art, literature, and music. Coffee houses have historically been venues for performances, intellectual debate, and even revolutionary plots. From the literary salons of 18th-century Paris to the beatnik cafes of 20th-century America, coffee has fueled discussion and innovation. As we've seen, coffee is more than just a drink. It's a thread that connects us to different cultures, histories, and traditions. It enriches our lives, not just through its taste, but through the experiences it fosters. In our next section, we will look at coffee's role in the global economy and how it affects the lives of millions of people. Global trade and economy. Coffee is not just a popular drink, it is also a very important product in the world's economy. It is one of the most traded commodities, just behind oil. When we talk about commodities, we mean raw materials or primary agricultural products that can be bought and sold, like sugar, gold, or coffee. Many countries in the world grow coffee, but it is especially important for the economies of Brazil, Vietnam, Colombia, and Ethiopia. These countries have many farms where coffee is the main crop. The work of growing, harvesting, and preparing coffee for sale provides jobs for millions of people. In these countries, the health of the economy is closely connected to the success of the coffee industry. Coffee farmers sell their beans to companies that handle the next steps, like roasting and packaging. From there, the coffee is sent to stores and cafes where we buy it. This journey from the farm to our cup is called the coffee supply chain. A supply chain is a system that moves a product from the supplier to the customer. In the case of coffee, this chain is very long and includes many steps. One important concept in the coffee industry is fair trade. Fair trade means that the people who grow the coffee are paid a fair price for their beans. This is important because, in some places, coffee farmers can be paid very little for their hard work. When coffee is fair trade, it means that the farmers receive enough money to live a good life, and their communities can have schools, hospitals, and clean water. But growing coffee is not easy. Coffee plants need specific conditions to grow, and they can be affected by many problems like diseases, pests, and the changing climate. Climate change, for example, can cause too much rain or not enough rain, which can damage the coffee plants. When coffee farms don't do well, it can be very hard for the farmers who depend on selling coffee to make money. Coffee also has an effect on the environment. Coffee farming can lead to cutting down forests, which is bad for the earth. But there are ways to grow coffee that are better for nature, like shade-grown coffee, where the coffee plants grow under the trees. This is good for the plants and animals and helps to keep the environment healthy. People around the world are working to make coffee farming more sustainable. Sustainability means doing things in a way that can continue for a long time without harming people or the planet. Sustainable coffee farming tries to balance the need to grow lots of coffee with the need to protect the environment and support the farmers. In our coffee journey, we see that coffee is more than a warm drink. It is something that connects us all. It supports families and communities, it is an important part of many countries' economies, and it is a product that we all enjoy. In the next section, we will look at the challenges facing coffee today and how people are trying to overcome them for a better future. Challenges and sustainability. Coffee is loved by many, but it faces big challenges today. One of the biggest challenges is climate change. Climate change is making the weather unpredictable. Sometimes there is too much rain, other times, not enough. This can destroy the coffee crops that farmers work so hard to grow. When the weather changes, it can also bring new pests and diseases that harm the coffee plants. Another challenge is the price of coffee. The price can go up and down a lot. This makes life hard for coffee farmers because they cannot be sure how much money they will make. Sometimes, the price is so low that farmers do not earn enough to live on. This is a big problem because millions of people rely on coffee farming to make a living. But there is good news, too. People are working to make coffee farming better for everyone. They are trying to find ways to grow coffee that do not harm the environment. This is called sustainable farming. Sustainable farming means growing coffee in a way that is good for the earth and can continue for a long time. One way to do this is to grow coffee under the shade of trees, just like in nature. This is good for the plants, the soil, and the animals. It also makes the coffee taste better. Another way is to use less chemicals on the coffee plants. This is better for the water, the land, and the people who live there. Fair trade is another important idea. Fair trade means that the people who grow the coffee get paid a fair amount of money for their work. This helps them take care of their families and their farms. When you buy coffee that is fair trade, you are helping to make sure that coffee farmers are treated well. People also care about where their coffee comes from. They like to know that their coffee is grown in a good way. This is called traceability. Traceability means you can find out where something comes from and how it was made. When coffee companies tell customers about their coffee, they can help them make good choices. Finally, some coffee shops and companies are trying to use less plastic and less paper. They encourage customers to bring their own cups or they use cups that can be used again. This helps reduce waste and is better for the environment. The future of coffee can be bright if we all work together. We can enjoy our coffee and also protect our planet. In the next section, we will wrap up our story of coffee. We will see how coffee is not just a drink, but a part of our lives and a way to bring people together. Conclusion. As we come to the end of our coffee story, we can see that this remarkable drink does much more than just wake us up in the morning. Coffee is a thread that weaves through the fabric of many cultures, connecting people across the globe. Throughout the day, from the first light of dawn to the evening, coffee is a constant companion. It's there during early mornings, in quiet moments of solitude when the rest of the world is still asleep. It's present in the busy hours of work, providing a moment of comfort and a burst of energy. And it's there in cafes and homes, where friends gather to share stories and laughter over a steaming cup. Coffee is also a symbol of warmth and generosity. In many cultures, offering a cup of coffee to guests is a sign of hospitality and friendship. It's a simple act that can speak volumes, conveying a welcome without the need for words. Moreover, coffee has become a bridge for conversation and a catalyst for change. It has inspired artists, writers, and thinkers who have sat in coffee houses, pondering the world's mysteries and creating works that have lasted through the ages. Yet, the future of coffee is our responsibility. It challenges us to think about how we can continue to enjoy this beloved drink while caring for the earth and supporting the hard-working farmers who bring it to our tables. Every choice we make, from the coffee we buy to the way we drink it, has an impact. So, let's cherish every cup, knowing that it's full of stories, of history, and of the efforts of countless individuals. Let's make choices that help ensure the sustainability of coffee so that future generations can continue to enjoy its rich and comforting flavor. And with that, we conclude our journey through the world of coffee. It is a journey that spans centuries and continents, one that tells a human story of tradition, innovation, and connection. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of coffee, a small bean with a big story.